Hey everybody, hey traders, happy Monday. Welcome back to the Poll Report. It is 9 o'clock, July 29th. Let's kick things off. Let's take a look at everything. We had the S&P down last week. We had the NASDAQ down last week. We saw some big market cap shed, Mag 7. The Russell and Dow stayed positive, finished green on the week. Big earnings week, 914 companies ahead. Some of your Hallmark storied Mag 7 stocks, Apple, Meta, Amazon, some of your semiconductors, AMD, Starbucks, MicroStrategy, Chevron, Exxon, many more. 914 companies reporting earnings. So big earnings week. We'll see if the market picks itself up and dusts itself off. Let's go to this week's economic calendar. So let's go to high impact only. I'll go medium and high impact. All right, so coming in light calendar today for Monday the 29th. We do wrap up the month officially on Wednesday, July 31st. We have consumer confidence on Tuesday for the U.S. We have JOLTS jobs opening for the U.S. We have Aussie CPI data, manufacturing, non-manufacturing PMI out of China. We have a policy rate decision from the Bank of Japan, likely going to stay the same between 0 and 0.1%. Will we continue to see a little bit of the unraveling of the currencies like we saw last week? Japanese yen was quite strong. Some good opportunities there, some good volume, and some directional plays. I've just been telling traders, trade what you see. There's good alignments on the yen crosses. Volatility is really nice. So whether you're buying or selling, just keep the trade size small, follow the flow of the yen, and it's been pretty decent last week. I basically hedged a lot of things where I was doing pairs trading on the yen, meaning I'm long euro yen, short pound yen, just trying to give myself enough wiggle room to have one if it stopped out, have the other one run with double the profit. It worked out okay, so made some bucks last week on that. Let's see here, Wednesday, CPI data out of the Eurozone, ADP non-farm for the US. Let's see here. What else? Pending home sales, and then a Fed rate decision on the 31st to wrap up the month. Expected to stay the same at 5.25, 5.5%. The discussion for Wednesday, the 31st. Okay. What's the Fed going to be possibly hinting at when it comes to September's rate decision? This is the last one for the summer. Once we have July 31st, there's nothing in August, and it will be all about what the Fed's going to do in September. We saw some interesting price action or probability changes in the Fed Watch tool, and let's see if that's adjusted. So this week, probability is still the same, very high in the 90s that the Fed does nothing, still maintains a 5.25 to 5.5%. August is just going to be Jackson Hole. We'll finish up a little bit of earnings season, and September is now looking for a 90% probability of a rate cut by 25 basis points. This has decreased a little bit, but this is an interesting little blip on the radar for possibly a 50 basis points cut, but that's only priced in about 10%. So if the Fed comes out with some big surprise, I'm just going to go ahead and take a screenshot of this right now and note today's date. So this would be July 29, 9 a.m. Eastern time. Okay. So just taking a note, after we get through FOMC on Wednesday, how much does this change for September? And going all the way out to December, we're looking at high probability of rate cut in September, a fairly high probability coming into November, which is weird, but cut September, cut November, cut December. That's what the market is possibly looking at right now. Yep. So we have the higher probabilities all leaning towards a 25 basis points cut, September, November, December. So that'd be 3 out of the last 4 months of the year. Well, obviously there's no August FOMC and there's no October FOMC. But what they do have is, so once we get to September, 3 official FOMC meeting cuts based on these probabilities with the Fed rate tool. So we'll see. That's a big deal. And the market, I don't know. I mean, I guess I got it halfway right. The market was expecting 6 or 7 cuts this year and got zero. And the Fed just kept pushing, kept delaying, and all of a sudden we're talking now a decent probability of having 3 cuts by the end of the year. So could get the market a little bit more excited. Still could be a good sign for this week. We have stronger earnings. Do we have something that pops back in for, let's say, the SPY? So sitting here with a correction over the last 2 weeks of trading, SPY's down about 4.8% from top to bottom. NASDAQ has suffered a little bit worse, larger cap rotation into small cap and elsewhere. We are down 9.5% in the Qs. So I think I'm going to look at some, at the money credit spreads for this week, next week, and position. I have a couple of pending orders on the Qs already, but given we could have after 3 red candles, we might be able to see a bit of an uptick this week. So starting out during opening bell, might be looking to pop in a couple of bull put spreads for the week and see if we can hang on to those green. Even if the Qs are going to do something along these lines, get out of here. Did you get my drawing tool? If this goes back to the video that I posted a couple weeks ago, where we have a sell-off, a pullback, and then a sell-off, right? Is that about what we're going to see with this larger run to the upside? So all of this, and then just an ABC correction or a 1-2-3 correction, pulling back into possibly this resistance becoming support, or those April lows. So we'll find out, but I'll probably look at something at the money. As long as I can collect like 40 to 45 cents on the dollar, I'd be pretty happy with that for the week, and just throw in a couple of bucks on the Qs. SPY, same thing, about 5% sell off, but Qs definitely a little bit more in the game, with your heavy Mag 7s this week, possibly lifting the markets back up on positive earnings, if we have positive earnings, in addition to trading some earnings this week. Ruthann, good morning. Garrett, good morning. Jacob, good morning. Chris and Denise, good morning. Nice to see everybody today. Okay, let's keep going. Anything else for the week? So that wraps up FOMC on Wednesday. Thursday, kick off a new month. We have Bank of England expecting to cut rates for the first time. 5.25. Right, they've been at 5.25. They stayed at 5.25. First rate decision to see a cut by 25 basis points coming Thursday, August 1st, as the market expects. We'll see if they deliver on that. What happens to the pound price action? Unemployment claims for the U.S. Thursday morning, 8:30 a.m. PMI numbers out of the U.S. as well. So we have manufacturing PMI. And then let's see, Swiss CPI on Friday and non-farm on Friday, only for the dollar, not for CAD. So non-farm payroll, 177K expected, average hourly earnings 0.3, and unemployment rate 4.1. Are we going to be ticking higher on unemployment? We'll find out. All right, so busy week ahead. Keeping an eye on some credit spreads in the background. Here we have a couple things from Moody's, the 10-year note. We've got triple C, triple B, and triple A. Basically, I'm looking for something like this. I mean, if we see just a big directional spike across the board, that's probably way more of a heavier risk off trading. Now, what I should be doing is, let me take these back to, when's the last time we had a major credit event besides 2020? Probably way back here in 2008, 2009. So you can see, when things are getting really nasty, and possibly, uncertain, highly motivated for a downturn, that would be a big jump to the upside in these credit spreads. So keeping an eye on it. Just something that I want to be monitoring, in addition to unemployment rates, in addition to a couple other metrics. If we see a big lull in inverse ETF volume, that usually signals a top as well. So I'll be keeping an eye on stuff like that in the background. Let's forward to current price. All right, Q's down, S&P down, Dow, like I said, clinging to positive gains. Russell clinging to positive gains. So far, so good. I have a couple of credit spreads in the IWM. As long as we stay above 218 for this week, that would be good. Dollar index, let's talk dollar index. Let's go back to the SPX. And let's go dollar index over here. Robert, good morning, sir. Nice to see you. Dollar. Well, FOMC on Wednesday. Does the dollar hold in the middle of this range? I still think this is a big indecision zone for the dollar. Okay, we break below 109 or 103.90. Dollar looks a lot more bearish. If we start to see the dollar trickle higher, to me, this would be potential bull trap. I mean, if the dollar gets stronger, right? The dollar gets stronger up here. I do expect there to be some resistance, maybe a fake out bull trap, and then a revert back to these lows. If the Fed is on this, cut cycle from, let's say, September, November, December, is that enough to then break support and continue to push lower? A couple things that can kind of save the stock market right now. Strong earnings for this Q2 earnings print. That's going to be really important to see that they're solid and steady. If Mag 7 can kind of right the ship like they did back in April and May, that did save the market. Also, we're highly anticipating some Fed cuts coming and coming in pretty consistently. It's not just, oh, finally one cut and the Fed doesn't do anything else. It's potentially looking at 3 cuts by the end of the year. So we could still see the stock market have a pretty good finish to the year while the dollar, remains to, well, I just think the dollar has to break out of this range. So this has been, for each individual dollar cross, it has not been easy to trade. And I think it'd be much easier to see the dollar, break and go, or to the downside break and go. And a lot more opportunity for Forex trading to be looking at a decent direction on the USD. So that's my thoughts on the dollar. Japanese yen. Let's go. Let's go to Japanese yen futures for a moment. We had a pretty big jump off these lows. Let's just equate this to the dollar yen prices. Well, the dollar yen hit around 162 and dropped, I believe, below 155 or 154 last week at some point. Japanese yen futures up 6%. If you go dollar yen, we settled in around 154. We had lows all the way down to 152. Wow. So we did about 1,000 pips worth of movement, 6% drop on the dollar yen across the board. There's some pretty aggressive follow through. Notice where we are though. I'm just throwing this out there. Notice where we are on the technical side. We're at this pretty massive daily and weekly trend line support that went back to the March lows of 2023. And I'm not saying that we can't go further down. Okay. Obviously, if this carry trade is going to unravel, now's a good time to have it happen, I guess. But the way that it fell 1,000 pips, it would make sense to have a type of pullback. So all I'm saying is we're sitting here at this trend line support, unless this is going to be just fast and furious to the downside, all the way back to these crazy lows or all the way back to this previous resistance and support. Maybe that happens and we unwind another 1,000 pips on the yen. Maybe. Okay. But if there's some risk appetite out there and this market stabilizes, there could be some buying opportunities in the near term on all these yen crosses after dropping 1,000 pips and maybe having, think about this. You go 1,000 pips, look at some percentages. You pull back from high to low, pull back 230 pips for a 23% pullback, pull back 380 pips, pull back 50%, 500 pips, right? So again, not calling the bottom, but if you see on a 15-minute, 30-minute, some good price action suggesting that a low is in, keeping the stop loss maybe a half to one ATR out of the way, just get some good confirmation. Trade goes up, but get your stop loss into break even or better. And maybe some good direction and good volume in the yen crosses are going to be enough to see some confirmation. I still trade small. I wouldn't do anything silly. But if this does, stabilize and turn up, I could see 2, 3, 4, 500 pips to the upside over the next week or two on some yen crosses. Let's go across the board. Yen pairs. Let's see here. So roughly 119 down to 110, so about 900 pips. Swiss yen. Swiss yen sitting here in some profit on the Swiss yen from 175. Never got filled at my 177. So once we made this break to the downside, I sold at 175. I've got a retracement trade at 177.50. But stop losses now. So this trade's been canceled. Stop losses at break better on 175. We're trading around 174. So just gonna let that continue to unravel a little bit. Pound yen. Pound yen from 208 all the way down to 196. 1,200 pips on the pound. Impressive. And the New Zealand yen, yikes. 99 all the way down to 89. Not all the way to the round number 89, but roughly 900 pips on the New Zealand yen. So those yens be moving. Aussie CAD in a pullback. Swiss crosses. I did add into a couple of small Swiss pairs on some inefficiencies last week. I bought in here looking to see if this pulls back up into a pocket or, fulfills this pocket as well. In fact, I might adjust that on my FX pairs from last week. This is a conservative spot. This should be a fairly high probability that we can come in, right there for about a 200 pip win. But I'd like to get this all the way back towards 6,000 or 60.50 and take a nice little non-FIFO scalp on the Aussie Swiss. CAD Swiss, same thing. Turning here, looking to see if we'll turn to the upside a little bit. Let me see if I've got my IG. Yeah, let's check my IG positions. I'll pull up as well. 13 minutes till opening bell. Earnings wise today, I think I showed this already right here. Earnings for the week: Apple, Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, AMD, Qualcomm, ARM Holdings, SoFi, Starbucks at the top. Today before market, we have On Semiconductors or ON Semiconductors. McDonald's has already come out. Tilray Beyond, that's Beyond Not Meat, BYON. That's just Beyond, whatever that is. Maybe that's a multiverse trade. Tuesday, PayPal, SoFi, got some exposure there. Pfizer, like to see what happens. Starbucks, kind of just like Nike. What's the consumer up to? Microsoft, definitely one I want to be trading. AMD, definitely want to be looking to trade there. Boeing, probably been one of the worst headline stocks this year. MasterCard, how's the consumer doing? Carvana, okay. Used cars, fine. ARM Holdings, Qualcomm, Meta on Wednesday. MicroStrategy with some crypto volatility. Coinbase, same thing. Amazon, Apple. Then Friday, some energy, Exxon, and Chevron. Okay. So, I mean, again, pretty good mix. 914 companies is a fair amount of volume and a fair amount of market cap up for grabs. I mean, the Mag 7, I said, shed about, $700 billion in market cap last week. So that's nothing. I mean, that's 3/4 of way to $1 trillion, which those numbers are crazy. So let me see here. Aussie Swiss, see what I've got going in here. So there's my currency pairs. Let's check on a new chart. Let's go here for a CAD Swiss FX. There it is. There. Get rid of the grid. Okay. So my daily chart, weekly chart. I think I'm going to go in daily here, weekly here. I'm still debating on this. Is this a larger head and shoulders trade on the Swiss yen? I'm going to start out with a little pocket trade right here. I'm just going to go ahead and throw in oops. Trading. Throwing a mini lot. And I'm going to take this in the short term right back to this level around 65.28. So I'll go 65.25. $65.25. Actually, on the count, yeah. Thanks. 65.25 take profit. Okay, so take profit. Oh, fudge. I realized I sold it. No wonder. Dummy. Okay, well, that just cost me $3. All right, so let me close this. Let me buy this. That was stupid. Doi. Uh, buy trade. Now I can take that stop loss and then take profit. 65.25. There. Okay. So looking for a little non-FIFO there for 140 bucks on the CAD Swiss. Um, Basically, I should just be holding this thing all the way up to this take profit way up here. 68 and change looks pretty good. This is still my big support zone around 70. I'm going to go 70.50. I'm just going to make this a 70.50 and just ride this thing out. 70.50. And that is a little $737 when it's all said and done. So I'll set a chart alarm at 65.25 and see if I'm the impatient side of me could just take the 150 bucks and be done. 6525 right there. Come on, man. And see if we hit that pocket. Okay. Benji wants to come say hi. No problem, bro. Come here. Oi. Okay. Yes. Okay. So a little action there on the Swiss, the yen. Definitely have a lot of trading to do this week in equities on demand. We've got some earnings plays. We'll talk a lot about those today. Getting some trades set up. I will likely be putting in some orders on. I will assess PayPal based on the dollar amount of movement. I'll assess based on implied volatility. I do have some exposure and ownership on SoFi. I do have some exposure and ownership on Pfizer. Starbucks, we had a big earnings miss, or at least the stock itself is dropping pretty hard. So I'm curious what happens on earnings. Maybe an interesting play with IV. Microsoft, just a Mag 7 play. If it's a big miss or big hit, we'll find out. MasterCard, possibly some volatility as well. Stock like 3M last week had a big move, like from 105 to 120, which is, again, outside of the expected move. Qualcomm, Meta, same thing with applied volatility. MicroStrategy, Coinbase, Amazon, Apple, and possibly a Chevron, Exxon type move as well. So of that, pretty active week. Looking at some credit spreads. More than likely, not running into assignments. Hopefully, we don't have assignments. That'll be a little frustrating to trade on the earnings side, but just depends on what the prices are. If I'm going long the option or if I'm going short the option, put in some credit spreads, whether that's an iron condor, doubtful, because if we get in the way of things like iron condors can easily be busted up by a big earnings move. Netflix would have been perfect for an iron condor or for strangles. Those are fine. Broken wing butterflies are also pretty solid. Just trying to stay outside the expected move. So a lot of ways to tackle earnings this week. I'm just excited that there's plenty to trade and hopefully some good volatility. So first and foremost, we're about 5 minutes away from opening bell. Let me bring up my Tasty platform. If you have any questions, have any charts you want me to take a look at, now is the time. And let's see here. Get logged in. There we go. Okay. Let's see here. All right. Tasty trade is in. McDonald's sales falls globally for the first time in more than 3 years. Microsoft stocks turbulence shows spotlight on big tech's valuations. Yes, we know. U.S. listed crypto stocks jumped after Trump's pro Bitcoin speech. Guess that happened this week. And here is my platform. Oops. Okay. So I'm going to take a look at the Qs to kick things off. Decent earnings week. See if we go out to Friday, collect a few bucks. I mean, I guess I'm curious, like, what a 0DT looks like. I can also bring up my dynamic trends. Let's get some visuals this week. Any major level for today? So we're just a few minutes away from opening bell. Let me float this out here. So any gamma squeeze levels? 545 in the SPY. Definitely filling up more to the downside. See if we can come in and kind of settle in at these lows around 540. That might not be a bad play, actually. If I go 540 and I can buy a call, again, if it's cheap enough, I might just, if we get down to 539 or 540, I might look at buying like a 542 or 543 call, see if the market can actually celebrate a decent rip to the upside on positive earnings. If it does, that could be maybe a $1 2 call option that turns into $6, $7, $8. Maybe even hits the low of the week and stretches 9, 10, $11. So possibly a trade there for the week. I'll just be watching also some intraday levels, and I'll watch and see how the real time fills up. So there's that. And okay, so here we are. Um, like I said, any charts, any questions, let me know. And let's see here. Jumping in with the A1 trading team at 10:15 to kick off the week with them. I should be available all week. Equities on Demand will be live at 11:15 today. And I know for some of our trading rooms, we're switching up the schedule into Zoom sessions instead of using smart trader charts. So that'll be a nice little switcheroo for the week. So business as usual. Lot to unpack this week. Let's have a good trading week. I'm looking forward to it. We should have some good volatility on the yen crosses. Watch that dollar basket. Plenty of stocks to monitor. Lots of chart alarms to set. Let's see what Mag 7 type earnings can give us, and the other 900 plus companies that are reporting. Also, what's going to be important to watch is for the week. What does the S&P do compared to the Nasdaq? They've been doing pretty much the same thing. Nasdaq's down for 3 weeks in a row. S&P down 2 weeks in a row. The Dow still clinging to highs or pot. I mean, this is kind of wild. Like not last week, but the week before, barely carved out a green week. But from the rally up to the pullback, we have seen some interest on the Dow, which is kind of nice. And the same thing is true for the small cap and the Russell. We had this crazy rip into the teens, right? From this low to high, I think it was up like 12 or 13%. About 13% has pulled back. And this is why I put in some credit spreads right around that 216, 217 area. See if we can keep some profit on that running this week. So, do we have all markets in green this week? We will find out. It is opening bell. Take a look at the Qs right here. We're at 465. Let me see if we can retest some lows around 460. I could be wishful thinking, but I'm going to try. So QQQ, if I go out to this Friday, 460 by 459, we're only getting 34 cents. I'm going to try to get filled here for 45 cents of credit. Okay, put in a couple of bucks. 460 by 459 for 45 cents. Let me throw this out there for this week. That's going to be a pending order. Okay, 9732. Okay, a couple more here. And 8051. Got it. Okay. So a QQQ trade right there. And why am I choosing the Qs right now? Simply because it's been the most beat up index. Nasdaq is down from high to low, creeping up towards 10%. So about a 9.5% sell off. I hope I get filled. Get out of here. What are you doing? Okay, 9.5% over the last 3 weeks. I'm looking to see if we can stabilize here on 460, get filled. I could just put in a trade right now at 465, but in the event that we, start here, maybe we have a rip up and then it settles here, but I want to see. I'm not going to take like 30 cents on the dollar, right? I mean, if I get in now, I get 35 cents, risk 65 cents. No thanks. And to the downside, we did tap here. I mean, this doesn't look like it, but this is $8 lower. So I mean, it doesn't look like much, but because I'm compressed and zoomed out of my chart, I'm not really just going to jump in here to 465 and say that's good enough. I mean, 460 is pretty low. 456 was that low point we had on Thursday last week. So I'm going to see if we can kind of retest the lows and then rip off those lows to try to get filled around 40 to 45 cents. Okay, so that's pending on the QQQ. Put that in as a tracker right now. So QQQ, this is an August 2nd expiration, 460 by 459. Bull put spread for 45 cents credit. Okay, that's pending for right now. I will set a chart alarm there. Also curious, I want to see if this costs me right now. To the upside, if we come back and fill a gap, what's a 474 out of the money call this week? Let's find out. QQQ, take a look at the trade. If it went out to Friday, can we fill a gap with positive earnings? 474 for Friday. 474. It's going to cost about $3. But if we have some time left in the trade right now, and at the money is trading for about $7. So we could see a 2 to 3x increase. 474 would be a decent play. I'm buying myself some time this week. If we head up towards it, I'm going to give it a chance. 474. That's not a big risk here. So it's $3 on the trade. I'm going to take a little stab at this one for, let's say, actually, see if I can get $3 pending. So right there, filled at 295. Okay, 9732. $111. Okay, and 9151. All right, a couple more accounts here. Okay, so that's looking for a gap fill around 474. Gap fill, check. OTM long call. All right, so QQQ, 8-2 expiration. And this is a 474 long call for $3 debit. So I'm going to go ahead and set a right now, and at the money's trading for about $7. I'll put I don't know. That seems fair. I mean, that's a pretty respectable rip. I mean, we've got to go up $10 to find that level. That just shows how powerful that week was to go from 484 down to 455 on the Qs. That's a 28 point move. Woo! That's a 28-point move on the week. That market was not joking around. So again, I know that's a lot to ask for. We got to go up about $7-8. But if we see an increase, I'll just set a take profit here of a 1-to-1. So I'll get those limits set in around $6 credit. Try to take it even and see if I get filled on that credit spread. Okay, Catherine Pound Swiss, sure, and then we'll switch gears. I'll wrap things up, start looking at A1 trading. If you want to join me again, come out of the session 10:15 Eastern time. I'll jump right back in and dual stream. So on my Twitter account as well as my YouTube account, I'll be doing another session with Nick and the team. Pound Swiss. Let me use different chart. So let's go SPX. Also put on a short-term trade on the SPX. Right here, we're sitting around 54.70. If we have a quiet day, let me recenter on this one. So SPX right here for today, center around 54.70. IV's at 51. You can pull out some decent premium on these deltas. So if I did, let's say 55.10 and spread that, and same thing to the downside, about a 13 to 15 delta. Let's go 15 delta here, and then 20 in zeros. So collect 380 on the trade. Not a bad trade. All right, I'm going to throw this in here for oops. So it didn't fill. Let's go 375. Filled at 375. All right, let me do the math on this for a 15%er. About $55. So I'm going to put in a 320. So centered around 54.70. My sell legs 54.20 and 55.10. Collected 375. Going after 320. Okay, so I'll plot that in here. SPX for today, 1, 2, 3, 4. Looking to see if I can get $3.20 out of this. So that'd give me about a $55 win. Okay, that debit is set. And see if that closes out today for profit. Cool. Alrighty. The day unpacks. Let's see how the week unpacks. Pound Swiss. Let me talk about Pound Swiss here for a moment. Pound Swiss. So the issue I have with the Pound Swiss is the margin. Pound pairs are still 5% margin across the board. That's a little rich for dollar cost averaging. Obviously, you just have to trade smaller, so lots of micro lots, but make sure, I'm trading the pound cross is half of what I'm trading the other Swiss pairs, like Aussie Swiss. I'm in for two micro lots. Or in, my account, my Tasty account, I'm going to throw some robots in that one, but I'm just throwing in mini lots to get some really good prices. But anyway, analysis wise in the pound Swiss, nothing really changes. We have this low, this high. I still think the structure is pretty solid for this type of move. This is wave 1, wave 2, wave 3, wave 4. I still think there's a wave 5. So to me, this is a, pause where we continue to head higher. I still like 1.20 on the pound Swiss, all the way back to the structure, all the way back to this breaking point, filling this pocket. That's also a symmetry move, by the way. So low to high, low to high. That is, to me, if you're trading small enough and the margin is not an issue, that you're just adding small and trying to take it up to 1.19, 1.20. I still like the trade overall on the pound Swiss. So just give it a little time. Should be okay. All right. My thoughts, at least. Okay. All right. I will take a little breather. Be back in about 25 minutes, maybe a half hour. So 10:15 Eastern time, I'll jump in with Nick and the team at A1 Trading, and we'll continue on. We got a lot to unwrap and unfold and talk about today. I'll probably start getting some positions running for earnings plays that are kicking in as early as today after market. But the big ones for me, um, mostly watching earnings tomorrow. I mean, I'll get a trade in on Microsoft, probably AMD, and then watching SoFi and Pfizer on my end since I have some ownership there. Boeing, maybe a Qualcomm, maybe a Meta, probably a Meta. MicroStrategy, Coinbase, Amazon, Apple, and then maybe an Exron or Chevron. Just depends on how they price out. So more than likely, there could be 6 to 10 earnings plays this week. These are just notables. I know there's other companies that I'm not counting for. I'm not. And it depends. I mean, I'm not going to search with this crazy needle of sifting through of like if I'm trading illiquid stocks during earnings season, it's not great. I want to trade super liquid stocks. So I'll probably stick to the big household names and that way, risk of assignment's pretty low, volatility, expected moves, all these things should be pretty standard. Okay, we all good? All right. If you do me one favor, hit that like button, hit the thumbs up button for me before you go. Help the algorithm, support the channel, all that good stuff. And I'll be back in about 25 to 30 minutes for another round with A1 Trading. Okay. All right. Talk to you all